Hey guys, so in the spirit of building in public, I wanted to talk about my newsletter growth. And I've just finished my month number 13, and it was a rather good month compared to my first 12 months. So I'm wondering, how does this thing work? How does this thing compound? So I want to break things down for you, and I'm going to share a presentation. And it's just kind of an overview of my experiences thus far. So let me share my screen and go to my presentation, and we can begin. So my flagship newsletter is called AI Supremacy. It's on Substack, and I've just finished month 13. And a little bit about me, I'm Canadian, but I'm currently working out of Taiwan. And I've been writing on LinkedIn for about 10 years now. So I'm a two-time LinkedIn top voice with over 200,000 followers, most of whom have left the platform apparently. But many of whom are in India and in Asia, pretty global audience. And I've been a full-time newsletter creator since December 2021, where I was doing more freelance content and consulting for startups before that. And then the pandemic hit. And I chose Substack just for its convenience. And I want to explain a little bit why I don't regret that choice. So I've always been intrigued by this idea that you don't need to become a big influencer, you just need to find your 1,000 true fans. And I think as a micro niche newsletter creator, that's especially true. So Kevin Kelly wrote that op-ed in 2008, and it still sort of makes sense, right? You find 1,000 people who are willing to pay you $10 a month, and that's more or less 100,000 in annual recurring revenue. And that's, it's a decent salary for most places in the world, especially if it's US dollars. Okay, so you don't need to be an influencer, right? You just need to find your niche and write for those people who are like you. Maybe you share common interests. Maybe you're really into something that other people are too. So to be successful as a niche newsletter, you don't need thousands of followers. You just need to find your people. So some people have incredible conversion rates, like in politics or more sentimental content where it really pushes someone's buttons. They're willing to pay, and the conversion rate is incredible, far higher than it would be in mine, which is technology and business. So we get hung up on numbers and KPIs and growth, but creating high quality work is really what matters at the end of the day, that people are actually looking for. And your tribe could be really small, right? It could be a really specific niche. So don't feel like you have to write about anything different than what you're actually interested in. And I think for me, that's really my take home here. Um, so in my case, where is my audience? So Substack recently rolled out this neat stats demographic chart. And I just wanted to share, like, wow, I didn't realize, my little AI newsletter that's barely a year old is already seen in 151 countries. So I'm reaching the US, India, the UK, Canada, Australia. I would have expected Canada to be a bit higher just because I'm from there, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So my 1 year goal was to get to 10,000 free readers, right? And I've recently crossed the mark of 200 paid subscribers. So that's really neat to see that sort of progress. So February is going to be month 14 for me on Substack. And I also have a newsletter on LinkedIn and Beehive, but Substack is really my home. And like I said before, I've been blogging for around 10 years, which means a lot of content marketing, freelancing gigs in startups, blockchain, retail, a lot of different industries. And AI supremacy, basically, it's grown a lot in the last month and a half, let's say. So for the first 9, 10 months, nothing much was going on. And then it suddenly started to compound. So I want to talk to you a little bit about why that is. So growth compounds over time, yes, but what's actually happening beneath the hood? Building a newsletter audience, you can do certain things that definitely accelerates your journey, right? And the biggest thing is actually to keep doing it. So most studies have shown that the newsletters that persevere 2, 3 years, that's when they really start to scale. Although I wonder if that's changing now. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about why very soon. So growth compounds with actually the recommendation and peer referrals and time, right? So it's a really simple equation. The more newsletters that are recommending you, whether that's on Substack or Beehive or LinkedIn, when they implement such a feature, basically those are the three platforms that I'm really looking at, because you don't want to be on legacy SMS, email platforms, right? Because while they have analytics and segments and all these advanced features, they don't necessarily have the recommendation and referral product flow down. So the best newsletter platforms today are definitely Substack and Beehive, depending upon your niche. And so what I do is I try and get traffic from LinkedIn or Twitter, which is fairly important, especially at first. And I basically call this the peer discovery economy, because recommendations are really taking over from the algorithmic feeds, at least in the way they're able to generate new leads for you, right? And consider this, I mean, we're typically recommending and being recommended by people in our niche, right? So if I'm writing about AI, I want to offer my readers value in the same niche. So actually these leads I'm getting from this peer recommendation economy are rather targeted. And that's kind of important because they're more likely to subscribe as paid subscribers later down the line, right? So the main thing is you want to get new readers out of your Google promotions tab, right? So you want them just to drag you into their primary, to whitelist your email, because there's so much competition, like even outside of all the newsletters people are reading, and it's getting kind of crazy. It's actually just people in business, you know, they're getting over 100 emails a day easily. So you're actually competing for attention, and the open rate does really go down a lot as your list gets larger, and if you're not cleaning it and maintaining it. And you want to become an expert in your topic, obviously. You want to optimize your about page with your best work, testimonials, and anything else that boosts your credibility, social proof, and even your likability as a person, right? Because they're also going to get attached to you as a person, ideally. Maybe you have your own tone, your own sense of humor, and all that really counts. So how many paid do I actually have? So basically my first year on Substack, I made about 18,000 annual recurring revenue across all my different newsletters. I have more than one. Actually, currently, at the end of it's February 1st now, I have 202 paid subscribers. So that amounts to about 17,000 in annual recurring revenue. And this does not count sponsored ads, influencer campaigns, and other revenue from event promotions, right? So because I'm a micro influencer on LinkedIn, I tend to get a lot of offers for these sorts of campaigns. I've just been blogging for so long. That's the main reason. It's not like I write amazing posts, which I do not get much traffic from. I'm kind of old school. I'm writing more the long form articles, the newsletters, a lot of curation about the breaking news and emerging tech scene. So if you want your own email list to be able to take that list anywhere, so you want to be on a platform where you own your own list, right? And that's intuitive, but on places like Medium and LinkedIn, they still subscribe to the platform control, which is really pretty nefarious in my opinion. And obviously that's why Substack and Beehive are becoming more popular, because you actually have more ownership. So yes, I've been blogging for 10 years. This sort of helps. But in practice, it just means I have more newsletters, right? So I have one on quantum computing, I have one on robotics, I want to develop one in space technology, I'm writing more about biotech and genomics. So I'm really trying to cover emerging tech as a whole, and it's impossible to do just on one newsletter. It really wouldn't make much sense to me to do that on the same newsletter. So I have multiple, and that sort of works. And I was joining the LinkedIn pilot years ago when they first acquired Pulse. I think that was 2013. It's been so long. But I've been watching this whole newsletter economy evolve, and I was actually kind of late to Substack, right? At the end of 2021, relatively late, but I mean, you're never really late when these things are just taking off more and more every year. So the top social media channels ranked for me as a newsletter creator, I would definitely say Twitter, because Substack is so tethered to Twitter. Reddit and LinkedIn are great for traffic. I'd advise you to start a YouTube as soon as possible, to also play around with TikTok, maybe Instagram, Facebook, and podcasts and external community. Building your own community can be really helpful if you want to increase engagement and the conversion rate, right? So creators on newsletters, typically they'll choose either Discord or Slack or another option. I really like the app Geneva, which has a lot more features and audio and video and all those good things. So my recommendation is just to you be you and do you. And this means that you're really writing in the niche that you feel that's the most valuable and most reflective of the kind of meaning you want to have in the world, right? So there's no reason not to diversify above and beyond just paid subscriptions, right? So you want to look into flat fee sponsored ads, not the gimmicky pay for clicks stuff that I'm seeing, right? You want to be able to control the amount that you're charging for each ad. And it's usually going to be considerable because you've crafted this audience on the specific topic. It's actually more valuable than you give it credit for. So do your homework about what your flat fee rate's actually going to be. Make a media kit, look into your demographics, maybe even do a survey if that's helpful. And so you might want to be building courses, you might be doing consulting, you might want to be looking into those ad networks that are two-sided ad platforms. The caveat there is they typically take a really big chunk, right? 20 or 30%. It's pretty crazy. The point is you want to be looking at all these things because the paid subs, maybe it scales faster or slower. It's usually pretty slow at the beginning though, right? So you need some other revenue sources perhaps if this is something you're taking super seriously. And this is the key point, right? It is the peer recommendation economy that we're into. And this is why you see people, they're bragging about how quickly their email's growing, their email list. And basically what's happening on the back end, it's pretty simple. It's just more people are recommending them, higher quality people are recommending them. And so your recommendation network size is pretty important, right? So some people will literally have a Substack and a Beehive just to double their network recommendation size. So Substack, Beehive, and LinkedIn all have their unique features to drive signups, use them, build a bigger list faster, right? So building faster really opens up a lot of possibilities. Brands reach out to you, AI tools, in my case, reach out to me. And eventually some kind of creator amplifier is going to reach out to you as well, right? So there's various things that you can do to build your media startup or solo entrepreneur career faster. And you can monetize your list in any number of ways, right? But definitely leverage Twitter and LinkedIn to boost your growth. So if you're talented in either of these, the ROI is pretty high in terms of the quality of the people that are starting to read your newsletter. So you're basically missing out if you don't optimize your strategy according to this 5-pronged approach. So here, what I'm trying to say is that Substack, Beehive, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of this really works together. So it's kind of like all these mini games, and you want to spend some time on marketing just because it's so important in how your list compounds. And relating to your peers, right? All these recommendations, they're real people that you get in touch with, that you talk to, that you share tips with, that you trade ideas with. And it's all about growing together, right? You collaborate instead of compete. And it's a really different mentality because you're not necessarily creating clickbait. You're really trying to create high quality original content, right? So that typically means that you're spending more time on higher quality pieces, 1 or 2 a week. Now, I don't myself do that because I'm covering news and breaking news in all these emerging tech fields, right? So there's always, for me, something new to talk to. I wake up every day, I'm like, oh my God, there's like these 5 to 10 topics I want to talk about. Which ones am I actually going to cover, right? So what I'm doing is a lot more curation. But really, for the high engagement, you want to be as original as possible, and you want the highest quality content you're capable of, right? So in January 2023, yeah, my list grew a lot faster than before. So it was over 2,000 in this particular month, which seems to be accelerating, seems to be mostly based on the number of recommending newsletters, right? So I have a woeful conversion rate. I'm not really good at monetization or the business aspect of this. I just really love writing. So even if around 2% of your free readers convert into paid subscribers, that could be a vast increase As for me, in January, it converted a lot of people, right? Those 2,000, I mean, I don't know, it was, I didn't even look at the percentage, but it's by far the biggest month I've had so far. So, I mean, I didn't start a newsletter get rich, but you understand how this stuff sort of compounds. If you keep doing it for, a year and a half to 3 years, I think that's kind of the sweet spot where you see that compounding growth, right? So for me, I'm just trying to cover emerging tech, AI, quantum computing, biotech startups, investing trends. And if you want to join Substack, here is my referral. You can click on that. You can copy that into your web browser and it takes you to a page and it basically links our accounts. So I'll be recommending you and you'll be recommending me. And I'm really open to mentoring and helping people learn about newsletter growth. I'm by no means an expert. I've just been doing this for a year, but I have some proof of product market fit. So I'm happy to say I will be continuing to do this. I wasn't so sure for a while, October, November, but then November, December, January, I've seen enough growth to say that this is like a path I want to continue and that I'm really passionate about. So just to mention that growth is not linear. Like I said, the green is the paid subs. So as you can see, like between like March and September, like I was hardly growing at all, right? So there's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be plateaus, and then there's going to be periods where for whatever reason, you do see a lot more compounding growth, right? So for me, when I approached more the 8,000, 9,000 range, things started to get a lot faster. And then I can see myself getting to 11, 12,000 relatively soon, right? So if I look out for the year, my first year was just a grind and really slow and really depressing and hardly any breakthroughs. And then my second year is really off to a flying start. I mean, that's partially just, ChatGPT hype intersecting with my topic, but I believe it's also the peer recommendations really taking off. So I hope this has been helpful to someone out there. And it's just an example of a newsletter creator doing their first year and what their progress could be, right? So my goal for 2023 is to reach 20,000 free readers. That's really it. I'm just grateful for, any paid subscriber I can get. I'm really just have that spirit of gratitude just because I've been grinding, bootstrapping myself and like essentially living in poverty and living very minimalistically, right? Just doing something I really enjoy and just getting the hang of the whole solo entrepreneur, kind of creating a diversified revenue stream, right? So in the end, maybe paid subs won't be a very big part of my total revenue. Maybe all these other things I'm building, like sponsored ads and one-on-one consulting, is going to be more impactful in the end. But the newsletter creator journey is kind of the springboard that makes all these other things possible. In my case, for someone like me, that's really in it for more the writing and the topics, not really for the business aspect or the monetization is just for me like something I want to sustain myself, give my Taiwanese wife, some benefits as much as I can, right? But the growth is nice since about December. And it gives me hope in the future that, this can be like a viable career option for me, right? Even if it just lasts a few years, I'm sort of used to pivoting from one thing to another, just because my marketing skill set's relatively, it's relatively green, right? I started this a little bit later in life. So I'm not expecting to go to the moon or create a media empire exactly. But suffice to say, I'm really enjoying having, talking about AI, but also talking about other aspects of emerging tech I really feel are interesting to cover. There's just not that many, biotech, space tech, or quantum computing newsletters out there. So I like that feeling of kind of being on the bleeding edge. So I hope I gave you a little bit of an idea of what a newsletter creator is like. And just also the sense that, this was my journey from 0 subscribers, 0 free readers to 10,000 free readers. So I hope you enjoyed it.